writers associations across the state, but very few of them have publications in which their members can compete and have their writing published. So it's an accomplishment that is something I'm particularly proud of. Just a little bit of history here. I won't go into too much, but Catfish Stew was first published over 20 years ago as an anthology by the Self-Care Shop, and the predecessor to SCWA. The publication was replaced by the Pettigrew Review as an anthology a couple of years ago, was when it started to be brought to a digital format. And when we got it up, TPR up and running as a digital format, we decided we wanted to bring back an anthology specifically to showcase the associations and the best work produced in by the writers of our association. So it has a special place for us. So before I turn the proceedings over to Jane, I wanted to acknowledge some people whose hard work has made Catfish Stew possible. Our editors are Jane Bowers and Sue Cryer, who led the effort from process to artwork and everything in between. And we're very fortunate to also have our talented judges, Stephanie Austin Edwards, Barbara Evers, and Mary Beth Gibson, whose efforts ensured the best writing was selected in each genre. I'd like to ask the judges to share some perspectives on that process, but before I do that, I'd like to make a special recognition of the board member who oversaw the entire publication. I'm speaking of Amber Wheeler-Bacon. Amber devoted herself to ensure that, yes, where are you, Amber? Oh, there you are, okay. Really, we owe a lot to Amber. She devoted herself to make sure everything was successful and brought energy and talent to the publication, and really deserves our highest praise. So thank you, you've really made us proud. So with that, I'm going to ask Stephanie, Barbara, and Mary Beth to offer their brief comments and then hand things over to Jane.
Order?
Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie, that'd be good.
Okay. I'll be not shy and start. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm really thought that this was maybe going to be a little tedious since there was 50 plus entries in it, but I really enjoyed reading each one of these. I had just come off of being a reviewer for another short story or a short story anthology locally down here, and I thought, well, maybe it was going to be too much to read, but it was so great to read all of these and then figure out my own scoring system, as you know, and I would go back and forth on some of them because there were so many that were good, and just brought them up on the Kindle, and Amber had it all set for us to go, and for me it was very, very enjoyable. And I didn't know until the other day actually who made the cut, because there's 3 of us as judges, and I didn't get, I don't know if Mary Beth, we didn't get a list of who actually made the cut, and my copy hasn't arrived yet. So this was fun to find out at the last minute what
they actually are in the mail to your house.
Yeah, I
finally got them yesterday. So
okay, good. So I think if that's about what you're looking for, that's probably my 2 cents on the whole process. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you, Stephanie. I wanted to say that I have judged actually a national contest as a preliminary judge for a couple of years. I did that, and this was way harder. I kind of had an idea what we might get, but these entries, and as Stephanie said, there were around 50 of them. They were all so outstanding. It was really hard. It was fun, but it was difficult to narrow it down. But as far as what I was looking for, with prose, I look for work that's well crafted first, and then has engaging characters or point of view, and a compelling plot. And I mean, again, that was difficult because they were all done so well. For poetry, I like beautiful rhythmic language with a strong theme, and you all should be very proud because your competition was extremely steep, in my opinion, and I applaud you all for making this cut, as Stephanie said. So thank you.
So Jane, sorry, I'm looking for Jane. Jane, wherever you are, you want to introduce, kind of, I'm gonna unmute you.
Yes, Mike took some of the things I was going to say, but I think I can still fill up a couple minutes. I'm delighted to be with all of you writers tonight, and just to see you in person, or at least to see your faces and put faces with names. It's just been a delightful journey for me to work with this publication. And if I look a little awkward, it's because I have something on the computer and I'm looking at the iPad. I'm at someone else's house on their porch and trying to get this all together. But this is my first Zoom book launch, even though I have been kind of familiar with Zooming. And I have to say it's very exciting and very different. And I want to also mention that Sue Cryer, my co-editor, regrets very much not being here tonight. But I can assure you that her thoughts are never far from this journal and all of your words and your poems and your fiction and nonfiction pieces. I think they'll stay with all of us for a long time. That said, I too, like Mike, want to give a nod to the writers who had something to do with the earlier version of Catfish Stew 15 years ago or so. At that time, it was described as a collection of succulent literary morsels of truth, Southern flavor. And as you know, as the years went by, it was changed to the Pedigree Review, finally known as TPR. Now, this is old news to some of you, but some of the new board members might be thinking, what? It was TPR. And in recent years, SCWW became SCWA, and last year TPR went digital and accepted publications not only from all over the United States, but really from all over the world. And still, we wanted a print journal for just us, you know, the people who are members of SCWA, so we could showcase our work. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of now. It was really a joy to work on the resurrection of Catfish Stew. Your stories, all of the stories and poems, are part of me now. I can't mention everybody, but I'm just going to say a couple of things. From a sea rise in Charleston to an abandoned cabin in the mountains and dozens of scenes in between, I think of your characters and your scenes and your descriptions every day. I wonder, is Lynn still wearing those X and O earrings? Did Jorge find a way to remove a chip from his arm? Does the poet still hear the sounds of jets from 50 years ago and feel a bit of dis-ease? Some pieces are nostalgic, like Read All About It and Mobile Summer, while others reflect more serious topics, all related to our shared human condition. To quote Sue, the writer in each of us is our saving grace. Even as the world around us threatens, we are always and already tonight stringing words together to tell our stories. Like Mike, Sue and I are appreciative of your writing and the time and talents of those who worked interdependently to bring Catfish Stew to fruition. Thank you. And now let's hear from the writers. And Vivian, who's going to do the MC business for us.
Okay, well, thank you. And it's my privilege coming in late to this thing to be your crazy MC this evening. So here we go. Alphabetical order, I think I got everybody. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction based on your bios, and then you can take it away. Our first reader up this evening is, and if I mispronounce names, I apologize right now, Marcy Ben Boltz. Do I have that right, Marcy? So Marcy is a population scientist who bases her writing in human geography and exotic locations. Her literary work has been featured in many publications, including Old Mountain Press, Borderlines, and the South Carolina Writers Association 2018 Pedigree Review. She is a 2018-19 Pushcart Prize nominee, and her poem this evening is Assassin. Marcy.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Can everyone hear me all right? Yes? Oh, good. Okay. This is Assassin. It's on page 14 of Catfish Stew. Assassin. An ultrasound wand slides across my breast, launching sound waves that collide with a solid planet. An assassin with wicked edges and its teeth entrenched. Sharp as the tail of a shooting star. We are on a survival mission. Our reflections spinning across the doctor's eyeglasses as shifting rings of Saturn. A tissue paper vest offers no shield in a space so vast and so dark and so cold, but for the light of the screen, which is twisted towards me. The technician's words soar over like a space station where there will be violence. I am dazed at the screen's image of the cosmos, its long bands of star clouds, my own internal Milky Way, spread across the winter's night sky, and at the sly assassin whose purpose it is to extinguish as it branches between the ribcage of Earth and the areola of the heavens.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you very much, Marcy. Thank you so much. Beautiful writing. Thank you. Next is Patty Bell. She is an author, playwright, and lyricist, and is an alumnus of the Creative Theater Institute. She served as a commissioned lyricist on Columbia Chorale Society. She wrote the book and lyrics for Dogs the Musical, presented at the Piccolo Spoleto Arts Festival. And Patty this evening is going to read a poem as well, entitled Donkey with a Broken Ear.
Well, thank you to Sue and Jane for their hard work on Catfish Stew, and congratulations to all of my fellow authors. It's an honor to be published with you. But rather than read Donkey with a Broken Ear, I'm hoping that you will enjoy, hang on, this little recording.
In a box on a shelf in a dark and rusty room where I stayed, but for 18 days. Hear a sigh, see a smile as I'm gently lifted out. I can stay even with a broken ear. Take my place on the straw in the corner of the shed where I lay, so content and serene, with a cow and the sheep and the shepherds and the keys. You just stay in the blessed holy scene. I've heard Christmas laughter, I've seen Christmas tears. Something goes wrong, another empty chair. Perfect Christmas magic, they'd all realize if they only saw the wonders, only saw the wonders. Celebrate the wonders through the eyes of a donkey with a broken ear.
And the instrumental makes it too long, but day 19 and again, fears and worries all return. Will I stay, be repaired, or thrown away? Gentle hands touch my face as I'm tucked back in the box where I hope for another Christmas day. Now I'm back on the shelf in a dark and musty room where I stay but for 18 days a year, with the joy in my heart and the memory of my part as a donkey, a simple donkey, a little donkey with a broken ear. I was fortunate that arranger-composer Dick Goodwin was looking for a new Christmas song, and he took these lyrics and he created this, and it's now a recording. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
That's so cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. That's nice mixed media. Thank you. Great job. Great job. And unfortunately, Catherine Tandy Brown has to follow you with that. So, so Catherine, welcome. Catherine is a Beaufort, South Carolina-based award-winning freelance travel writer and workshop leader and writing coach. Her nonfiction work includes the Lowcountry Weekly and the Lane Report. Her fiction has appeared in Short Story America, Volumes 2 and 5. Her current projects include a memoir, Anne, Queen of the Wing Chair, and her first novel, One to Go, an equine thriller, is in the works. So please welcome Catherine Tandy Brown.
Thank you, Vivian, very much. And stop me when I've gone too far. My story is longer than 2 minutes. So just pull the hook out and grab me off. And congratulations to everyone. I echo that. This is called Queen Anne. Blessed with life wisdom, my mother could chat with nearly anyone. A diminutive 5'2" with black curly hair, she adored people, was a good listener, and laughed easily. Her cozy brick home in Mayfield, Kentucky was filled each afternoon with people aged 8 to 89. Mayfield was so small and rural that she, a non-native, would refer to it as Hayfield. Grabbing a glass of Mom's famous sweet tea laced with white grape juice, they'd settle in the den to handicap yesterday's golf game, complain about wayward teenagers, or gab with who else might be stopping by. Parked on a green and white striped wing chair, my mother, Anne Albritton, would monitor the gathering like an experienced talk show host. Her second husband, Edmund, a doctor who'd been her childhood sweetheart, teased her mercilessly about the phenomenon, calling the wing chair her throne and those myriad chums her court. At dinner, he queried, "And how are your subjects today, Queen Anne?" She turned a radiant smile and replied, "Just fine," and proceeded to impart the latest local gossip and any happenings in her volunteer duties at church and the Art League. But time had passed. After a valiant year-long battle, Edmund had succumbed to cancer at 74. Now, 10 years later, his best girl turned 85 and her health was failing. My sister Lindsay lived 2 states away in Charlotte, had a full-time medical records position and a menagerie that at its height numbered 4 dogs and a dozen cats. Leaving home was an ordeal for her. Younger by 2 years, I resided and worked in Lexington and traveled the 4 hours westward as often as possible. A home health care specialist in Mayfield, my stepsister Molly treasured the stepmother who had led her and her husband into a 12-step group and lives of sobriety. And she made sure Mom's in-home caregivers were top-notch. On a sunny May afternoon in 1998, I had just arrived for the weekend. The snug den was merry with 3 friends plopped onto the tan Carteret couch. Molly sprang from a flowered, overstuffed chair to envelop me in a bear hug. From her throne, Mom leaned up to wrap delicate arms around my neck and kiss me hello. Her eyes shone a warm chestnut, but she looked frail and wan. She didn't stand to receive my usual jab of asking if she hadn't gotten shorter since my last visit. I'd towered over her, in height only, since the 8th grade. Is that the hook?
That was the hook.
I thought I got the hook. Okay. Well, there's a whole lot more.
That hug was, yeah, that hug was a great place to go. Thank you, Catherine.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
What is the wing chair? That was perfect.
Funny.
Thank you.
That's funny. Thank you.
Welcome. Our next reader is Candace Carter. Candace has walked many paths in life. She served in the military, earned a degree in veterinary medicine, and worked for the National Park Service. Candace grew up in the Midwest, a lover of the outdoors with a fondness for Western films. And her stories are drawn from those experiences. And thanks to her father, there's a little bit of Old West mixed into her writing. Muddy Waters is her first in the Henry Whispering Smith mystery series. Candace, will you take it away?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sure can.
I have a
If
guest.
you're not reading, please make sure you're on mute. That'd be terrific.
Okay. So I wrote a short story, which is way too long for 2 minutes. I also want to say congratulations to everyone who made it. I was surprised, but honored. So my short story takes place before the novel, and I guess to give it a little bit of background, so you know, I'm just reading a paragraph, but the character Whispering Smith is a range detective in modern day Colorado. So when he's out doing his job, he tries to help a woman in distress. So no good deed goes unpunished. So while he's helping the woman, she steals his horse. And so he's miles from his truck and trailer, and he's afoot as the storm approaches. So he recalls that there's a cave-like shelter not that far away, which actually exists because I worked out in that area when I worked for the Department of Interior. So it's kind of fun to write about something I know and be able to put it into a story. So Placing the kindling in a small teepee shape, Henry got it burning and gradually added larger pieces. Heat and the scent of sage crept through the alcove as he sat back and watched the smoke mingle with the rain. A friend had shown him the pictographs in this sheltered spot years ago. He studied the ancient rock art in the firelight, recognizing antelope and serpents while pondering what the other strange symbols might represent. Above his fire, rocks had been blackened by similar fires for hundreds or maybe thousands of years. That's all I have.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, Candace. Thanks a lot. You started us going. That was it. You had a whole nother minute to keep us at that campfire, but thank you for respecting the time. Thank you.
No
And
problem.
congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations to everyone.
Thank you. Craig Ferris, you're our next reader. Craig has 5 of his short stories have won the South Carolina Carrie McRae Literary Award for Best Short Fiction, and his novel, The Spectrum Conspiracy, won the 2016 Gold Medal for Best Suspense Novel in the Reader's Favorite International Book Awards. Craig served on the board of directors of the South Carolina Writers Workshop from 2000 to 2006. He's taught creative writing as an adjunct professor at Winthrop, teaches digital graphic design at York Technical College, and designs professional book covers for his publisher. So Craig is going to read this evening for us from Den of Rhyme.
The Den of Rhyme is a short story about a small town writers group that meets in an old country store building formerly called the Globewalk Arcade and Grill. Due to the Globewalkers' frozen locks, the only entrance is through a tall window sash. There, the tranquil world of a Southern writers group is forever changed when a provocative young author joins, bringing her extraordinary talent along with some personal baggage. Now, a decade later, an injured author revisits the site of the tragic event that tore them apart, only to discover that things may not have been as they seemed in this den of rhyme. Excerpt, 2010. Here in this literary forsaken den we had gathered, spilling out our hearts and emotions on the 20-pound bond in double-spaced black ink, always in an attempt to move closer to the edge of the publishing abyss. Those of us who made it worked our poems and prose onto a hook as one might an earthworm, and flung them as far as we could into the swirling maelstrom of unpublished manuscripts. Some only got a nibble, some a bite. But in landing our catch, each of us was careful that the literary trophy bass we longed for wasn't a bottom-feeding carp. 1999. By late August, PJ was a regular in the group and never failed to astound us with her writing talent. She said she was working on a novel, but the only selections she read were from short stories and poetry. She usually sat by me, and we exchanged notes about the boring and grammatically challenged critiques we suffered through. However, she showered my work with an array of accolades like outstanding and brilliant. She called me her mentor. It was flattering, especially to an overweight, middle-aged man, but in truth, I thought she was the better writer. In one particular story, she placed her character inside an hourglass, using her fingers to push the sands of time back up through the neck instead of a cliche about reversing the hands on a clock. Where do you get those images, I asked. I don't know, there's plenty of inspiration in our trailer park. What a venue for literary intrigue. No wonder you write so well. Are you married, she said. The question took me aback. Yes, we have 2 kids. Then she planted a kiss directly on my lips.
That was great. Thank you so much, and good luck with your work. Thank you. So
Thank you.
Emma Galloway Stevens. Emma, I went ahead with the G instead of the S, so we're going to, in alphabetical order. So welcome, Emma.
Okay.
Emma's
Hi.
is an instructor of English and creative writing at Bob Jones University. Emma writes poetry and short stories and hopes to work on an MFA program this year in spite of COVID-19, right, Emma? When not writing, grading papers, and herding cats, she reads, and when she does not read, she runs. And Emma's going to read from her poem, and I messed up, Emma. I don't have the name of the poem, so will you please because you had 3 submissions, so please talk to us.
Okay. I was very grateful and overwhelmed to have 3 of my poems published in here. This is my kind of first foray into publishing. This is the first time I've been published anywhere, so I'm extremely grateful to the editors for picking my work. I'm going to see if I can read all 3 in 2 minutes. I'm not going to rush though, so stop me if I go too long. Hang on. Cicada. Night scythe, clatter king, summer scather, cyborg brooch, glass back, rattle bat, scuttle singer, devil coach, rasp tick, chatter cad, nightmare rider, glitter roach. That's cicada, that's one of them. Sunburn. I am fish belly white. I do not brown in the summer, I blotch. I am uncooked, unseasoned chicken. I model if I get too warm. Sunshine peels me like a grape. The other white girls, they crisp like biscuits in the oven, even if they're the kind you buy in a tube. But I'm white like canned tuna with mayonnaise on a saltine. I spoil in the sun. Do I have time for one more?
Absolutely. You're good. Go ahead, Emma. You're good.
Okay. This is my last. Year of Jubilee. 7 years ago, you saw my grove and sowed its rows with salt. I gather apples there today and feed them to my love where you can see.
Thank you very, very much. And congratulations on your first publications. They were beautiful, beautiful poems. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. So before we take a break, we have one more reader, Mary Lash. Right? And Mary is the author of the novels Love and the TSA, a finalist in the Next Generation Indie Book Awards, and A Roller Coaster Down, a runner-up in the young adult category of the Eric Hoffer Book Award. She's written a nonfiction case history, The Desert Murders, and she's worked in scholarly publishing and taught reading and English composition at Greenville Technical College. So Mary, it's quite a resume. This evening, she's going to read a piece of fiction from her work, Valentine's.
Thank you very much for here, and congratulations to everyone. This is just the beginning of the story, Valentine's. One more song, Puff the Magic Dragon or what? 12 Days of Christmas, I want both. With a long night ahead, they had time for 2 songs, but he needed to learn. Life was choices. Darling Mo, you can't have both. Choose one. 12 days. They snuggled on the threadbare sofa in total darkness, but Sylvia could imagine the mischief in his eyes. He was betting the 12 days of Christmas was longer and he could stay up later. Even with nothing to do at night but sleep, a 4-year-old had to put up a token resistance to bedtime. All right, the 12 days of Christmas. Fine, it challenged his memory. Never mind that it was February. She only knew so many songs by heart. He had his mother's gift for music. Before the sea rise, he could have had lessons, become a musician like Christy. Sylvia let him show off how well he knew the numbers and the outlandish progression of true love's gifts. She only joined in for singing every 5 golden rings and partridge in a pear tree. She had tried to explain the song, but pipers piping and fighting sleep, he lay down in his pile of old quilts on the floor, safer there in case of stray gunfire. She stretched out on the sofa to keep watch over her grandson. Good night, Mo. Such an ugly nickname, like one of the 3 Stooges. Of course, Christy's generation had never heard of the 3 Stooges. Christy was proud of the name she'd given her baby, and if you named a child Moses, you needed a nickname. Christy should have thought it through. Christy should have thought a lot of things through. Night, Grandma. Remind him that day after tomorrow was Valentine's. Better let him fall asleep, not get revved up with expectation. And give herself one more night not to think about it. Just listen to his peaceful breath, so near. She hadn't failed. She'd brought him this far.
Thank you, Mary. Very nice. Thank you very much. Okay, before we go into a break real quick, I had mentioned Susan Zarenda had joined us earlier, and Susan is a new board member, and we just wanted to welcome her. She's the author of Bells for Eli, and I think she's got to talk right after this. So Susan, it's 7:30. So thanks for joining us, Susan. We appreciate it.
Susan, where are you talking about Bells for Eli?
We are on, can you hear me? I think I've unmuted myself.
Yes.
We are on Ann Swafford Heights Facebook page at 7:30 this evening, and it's an author panel. Allison Law of Allison Law Communications is our moderator. She's in Atlanta. And so we're going to talk about themes of resilience and perseverance in our works, because we think that's very timely in terms of the COVID-19, and try to, not exactly draw parallels, but we thought that was a likely theme. And so, of course, I have my book, for everybody. It's such a pretty cover. So.
But you want to bring it up a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Bring it there.
Can you see it? Yeah, it's a lovely cover.
And I've been telling everyone this, Susan, but Susan got like every writer, every Southern writer you would want to have blurb your book. Susan got them to blurb her book. So
well, I've been very fortunate.
I'm really looking forward to reading it.
Thank you. And y'all tune in later. You'll probably be sort of hiney worn after all this from sitting. But if you feel like it, tune in at 7:30.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you.
You're up.
Okay. So guys, I have a little quiz to break up the readings. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. It's a Catfish Stew quiz. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. You guys are gonna have to see my ugly. Oh God, that's not what I meant to do. There it is. Okay, so here's our quiz. I am a teacher, so I'm gonna be a little bit controlling about our quiz. So I want you to send me a message if you think you know the answer. Send me a message through chat, or send all of us a message. Just write your answer in chat, and then I'm gonna kind of call out the first few people who mention or who join in the chat. I'm gonna call them out to answer. I just need to find out. Sorry, I'm trying to see if I can see. Okay, I can see the chat when I'm in share. Okay, so Vivian, can you see this? Everybody can see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, so our first question is, and there's actually someone on this call or someone on our Zoom who actually named the very first Catfish Stew, so they are likely going to get the answer. What other title was not considered in 2005 when the SCWA Board of Directors named Catfish Stew? Is it A, Don't Burn After Reading, B, Tenacious Tales from South Carolina, C, A Manuscript to Kill For, or D, The Manuscript and the Dreadful Dress? So go ahead and type in what you think is the answer in your in a chat. I'm gonna see if I can. Okay, Doris. Doris, what do you have, Doris? What do you think the answer is? You're gonna have to unmute yourself.
I had Tenacious Tales.
Okay, Doris thinks Tenacious Tales. So that's what you think it is not. Anyone disagree? Mary Sturgill, you are disagreeing with Doris. You say, what do you say, Mary?
I said A, Don't Burn After Reading, but that was just a wild guess.
Okay, and then Yvette Murray has said, Yvette, what did you pick?
I chose The Manuscript and the Dreadful Dress.
Yes, and then I'm going to ask Craig Ferris, who's actually the one who named the 2005 Catfish Stew, to tell us the answer.
I think it's The Manuscript and the Dreadful Dress, because I came up with all of these, actually. I suggested all of these.
No,
And,
it's Tenacious Tales from South Carolina.
Okay.
I made that one up.
All right. Yeah.
I thought you would know it. So yes, so Doris, you got it. Oh, by the way, the person who, if there's one person who gets the most right, you guys get a free copy. I'm gonna mail you a copy of Catfish Stew. Okay, so next question is, which ingredient does not appear in a typical catfish stew recipe? A, milk, B, ketchup, C, okra, D, chickpeas. So let's go to our chat here. A lot of people are choosing milk. Milk is actually a common, that was something that Jane found out and was surprised by. And, you know, I could be wrong. So Mary Beth, what is your experience with catfish stew, the meal, the stew? Have you ever had it?
You can have white catfish stew or tomato based. I think milk is in it. But I put chickpeas.
Wait, because that's what's not in it, right?
That's what's not in it. Yeah.
So have you?
I don't know about ketchup.
Oh, does not appear.
Yeah. Sorry, a lot of.
Oh no.
Does not appear. Yeah. Okay.
No, I haven't made it, but I've eaten it.
Really? Okay. So Mary Beth gets this one. It's chickpeas. All right. Next one is, which image appeared on the first catfish stew? A, B, or C? All right. Let's pull up our chat here and see. Stephanie, you're saying C.
Yeah.
Did you actually have a copy of the first catfish stew?
I don't remember, but I've been around a long time.
Okay. Craig, can you tell us which one appeared on the first catfish stew?
I'm trying to get back to the screen. It's A.
Yeah, that was the Craig was nice enough to send us an image. And did you design this, Craig?
Yes, I did. That was a marker drawing with Sharpies.
This is pretty good.
Well, I'm a graphic
so
designer. That's what I
this is the
did.
cover of the first catfish stew. Okay, our last question, and this is all right. So Craig, or wait, we didn't really have. I didn't give anyone a chance to answer that one. Sorry. Okay, and this is our last question. To catfish someone means to A, lure them into a relationship by means of a fictional online persona. B, catch them on the dance floor with an imaginary fishing pole. C, buy them a cheap gift. Or D, leave a first date you don't like with the check. So let's see, what do you guys think it means? All right, Catherine Tandy Brown is saying what, Catherine?
Leave a first date you don't like with the check.
That one is one that I made up, although I do think it's a good one.
It is a good one.
It's A.
How do you know that, Yvette?
Because I have millennials as children.
So is that seriously, so that is true, it is A, to lure them into, so is it a word that millennials use, or is it something that you have?
There's a whole TV show about it where they catch people who have catfished other people.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
It's kind of sad sometimes too.
Okay, so we're gonna give away our 3 books to Doris, Mary Beth, and Yvette are gonna get our free, their free.
Awesome.
Okay.
Yay.
All right, Vivian, I'm gonna let you take it away again.
I don't think I can follow that either. That was very fun. You told us it'd be fun. It was fun. Congratulations to the winners. All right, Catherine Edders, love it. Catherine earned her MA in creative writing and English from Hollins University and continued her graduate work and taught at Hong Kong University. She's a former winner of the Doris Betts Prize. She received twice the Press 53's Short Story Award and is a 4-time winner of the SCWA's Carrie McRae Prize. A Virginia Center of the Arts Fellow, she is a 4-time nominee for the Pushcart Prize and a past recipient of South Carolina Arts Commission's Individual Artist Grant for Prose. So Catherine Edders, love it. Please take it away. She's going to read fiction entitled Hatchlings from Catfish Stew.
I'm just going to go right to the middle part. Lynn plants her chair at the edge of the surf and opens the pamphlet to the middle. The turtle nest is 1.5 feet deep, she begins. They use the word nest in case you didn't notice. You're too close. You won't sit here an hour before you'll have to move. Then I'll move. He drops his chair behind her, but doesn't sit. So you pierced your ears. Lynn puts on her big glasses. It's quick, I guess, the way they do it with those guns, says her son, Nick. Lynn doesn't admit she'd succumb to middle of the night madness. With the aid of a 16-year-old YouTube guru, a big needle and an ice cube, she'd done the deed, painfully, imperfectly, herself. Nick comes over and studies one lobe and then the other. Does it feel funny when you take them out and put them back in? I'm not taking them out. I twirl them around when I remember. She gives one a twist. And before bed, I squirt on hydrogen peroxide. Some girls have a lot of earrings and a lot of holes. Not this girl, 2 holes, 2 earrings, I'm done. Nick stretches up. I'm going in. In one motion, he strips off his shirt. Lynn's back straightens against the chair's webbing. I thought I heard you say summer was over. Chill, Mom. The water spools around his ankles. I couldn't drown out there if I wanted to. And just like that, he's off, knee deep, waist high, plunging before she can make a move to stop him. She watches as he rides the swells of waves, holding her breath when one takes him under. From where she sits, the water looks calm. She knows better. Somewhere out there, a wave is building, one powerful enough to drag a body where the world drops away. The unthinkable is underhanded like that, slipping into ordinary moments, stealing into a routine day that begins with not enough milk for a second coffee.
That was terrific. Thank you, Catherine. Terrific. Really terrific. Thank you for being here. Michael Lithgow, I don't think Michael made it for the reading, so I'm just going to call him out real quick. And I don't hear. Congratulations, Michael, for getting your poem Ode to Stacked Stones in Catfish Stew. John McElroy, writer of now a novel, first chapter, The Caretaker's Daughter. Mac is a fully recovered attorney, CEO, and adjunct professor. His book, Not Exactly Rocket Scientists and Other Stories, was co-authored collection of zany, mostly true stories, has been featured on national radio, and his short fiction has appeared in Short Story America, Short Fiction Break, Y'all Magazine, Ebb and Flow, and Reflections. New to SCWA, he is currently working on a collaborative collection of short fiction titled All That We See or Seem. Mac, welcome. And we're going to hear, again, he was in the novel first chapter, The Caretaker's Daughter.
I'm going to read from the first chapter of the novel in progress. It's going to be a kind of Southern Gothic flavor, and I thought that it might be fun to almost make the place as important as the character. So that's where I'll start. The very first paragraphs, about 5 of them, in the first chapter, called The Caretaker's Daughter. Begins in 2018. The story weaves its way as Southern stories should back in the past. But we'll start on March 18, 2018. This is what the caretaker knows. The dusty saloons down by the wharf, where the men drink their whiskey hard and look you in the eyes straight, are where the saddest stories are told. This is what the caretaker sees. The cemetery sits high on a bluff along a wide bend in the Mississippi. Its wrought iron entrance gates are pitted, broken, busted open. One gate has slipped entirely off its hinges, but this is of little matter since the gates have not been closed in years. And this is what the caretaker believes. It is the fading light of the day long gone, the sorrows of the remembered undressing in the dark of the night, and the hushed voices of the buried, which are the special burden of the caretaker. He has learned to listen to these whispers generously and without judgment. He has lived in the cottage for much of his life. It rests atop a shady knoll, Prickly clumps of Spanish moss drift over the gnarled branches of several live oaks, sway in the breeze. The clumps are thickest on the smaller end, the ones that seem to be dead, although they might not be. He's been told for years that the moss does not choke the tree, and that the oaks, the gray moss, and the resurrection fern, which weaves itself around both branches and moss, all live in perfect harmony. The caretaker would like to believe that, although he is no longer so sure. He now lives by himself, a wife of 32 years, slipping quietly away one night a year ago. It was a loving marriage, and her whispers, the caretaker would tell you now, are the softest in the night. But even they have begun to rest heavy on the caretaker's shoulders. Stay tuned.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That was worth the technology, John.
Yeah. I'm getting there, Vivian. I'm getting there.
All good. All good. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. It is, again, a pleasure to be with you. Really great writers. Thank you.
Next is Yvette Murray. Yvette received her BA in English from Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. She's been published in Fall Lines, the Pettigrew Review, Genesis Science Fiction Magazine, and several online posts, including the charlestonpoets.com. Yvette has also performed in interdisciplinary projects at Morris Brown AME Church, the City Gallery, and the Halsey Institute of Contemporary Art. Presently, she's working on her first book of poetry and a children's book collection. Yvette is going to read from her piece of poetry entitled Line Street. Welcome, Yvette.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here with everyone. Good to see you. Everyone staying safe. And we're going to have this artistic endeavor today. It's really great that art is keeping us all together. Line Street. I grew up in an enchanted urban forest, an ecosystem fantastic. Corner stores, candy ladies, and dirt. Grandmothers with eyes all over their bodies. A yad man, fush man, and a woman who did hair in her kitchen. Now, in this kingdom, there were no rulers, only magnificent energies of one purpose. Let us birth the kings and queens, grandchildren of bondage, watering little sprouts with love, scolding as if the two were one. Some with less, some with more. Enough was always enough there. Working men eating lunch on your stoop, cashiers strutting to the second shift at Edwards, and the flow of Friday 5 o'clock laughter over a plate of hot fried fush and a cold one. Hush now, I must tell it right. The ghosts are listening still in the silence of rusty locks. I etch stone tablets because those at the bottom of the mountain bask in a lovely unknown.
Yay. Thank you, Yvette. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I have one more if I have time.
Okay, you had 40 seconds. 40 seconds. Can you do
it? Okay.
Go.
It's called Blackbird, based on Nina Simone's song of the same name. A doubt sprouted in the universe. She wanted flight. Doubt filled her hollow bones with sand, and night kept her black wings from rising. How could there ever be enough tears for an orphan bird still at the nest? How could fear make her sun rise or drip moonlight rest into her soul? No place wanted a blackbird like this, nowhere a hometown she can call near. A little sorrow can hold a soul back and force the brightest of lights to roam.
Thank you. She's a great artist. Thanks for honoring her, Yvette. Thank you very much. Next up is Jay Sauls. Jay has been writing all his life, starting just after he learned to read. Thank you, Jay. When his kids were young, he wrote a weekly humorous sentimental column called The Home Dad Chronicles for the Covington Daily News. In recent years, he has moved to novels and now has finished 5 books ranging from a detective novel to adult and young adult sci-fi to a psychic thriller. Tonight, Jay's going to share some fiction entitled Rash and Faith.
Thank you. Just very glad to be here. I feel like the guy who accidentally walks into a big office party and gets awarded. So very glad to be here. I like dystopian apocalyptic stories, and that kind of fueled this piece. And let me bring it up. Jorge returns to his cup of tea, savoring its lemon scent. Twisting rivers of steam drift from the cup, and the temperature is still too hot to drink. Normally, the lemon brew works like magic for him, easing out the knots and twists in his gut. But lately, its effect has been muted, and tonight he doesn't feel the tea will work at all. He places the cup on the corner of his desk and turns to the window. Glancing at the sign at the edge of the parking lot, he reads the words confirming the government's official sanction of his church, the Baptist Reformation Center. Although the permission allows Jorge to offer religious services and community outreach programs to the people living in a small cluster of homes nearby, his outreach is hampered by restrictions put upon the clergy. The limited set of rations is simply insufficient to keep residents who cling to life just above the poverty level. But if the clergy exceeds the allotment, even minutely, they could face addition charges, the worst being the loss of their charter. The worst being life imprisonment in one of the gulags where men and women enter but seldom leave. Jorge turns from the window and stares at the tea waiting on his desk. Knowing the drink can't ease his worry, he retreats to his private bath and splashes cold water on his face. After patting it dry with a hand towel, he stares into the mirror, trying to recognize a face that was once prominent in society. A star on the rise, ascension practically assured. His blue eyes, high cheekbones, and thick black hair have faded with age. The skin around his eyes is lined, his thinning hair almost completely gray, and the strength he once exuded is gone. The luxury of life in the capital reduced to a drafty one-room loft in the rear of the sanctuary. His decision to follow in the ancestral footsteps of his forefathers cost Jorge his health, his family, and his friends.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hey, gang, I just wanted to introduce, I see Barbara Evers joined us today. Barbara was also one of our judges. Barbara, both Mary Beth and Stephanie said hello to everyone. I don't know if you wanted to say hello as well and just introduce yourself.
Sure, I'll pop in. Everybody under the sun's having meetings on Zoom tonight. That's why I'm only coming in now. And so I apologize for that. And I hate that I missed some of y'all's readings because there were several pieces that I really, really enjoyed, and I'm glad to see them in print. So, and I'm also very excited to hear you read them because it changes it so much when you hear the voice of the person who wrote it read it. So kudos to all of you, and thank you for letting me be a judge.
Thanks, Barbara. Thanks to Tom. We're glad you're here. So it's nice to see the people that read the work as well. So thanks. I'm glad you're not zoomed out too badly. Okay. Next up is Alan Stevenson. I see you made it. Alan, welcome. Alan is retired from decades of camp work and storytelling in the mountains of North Carolina and is currently enjoying his life as a newbie writer in Easley, South Carolina. His short fiction has appeared in Moonshine Review, and he's placed in contests in the online publication Women on Writing. Very good. He is currently working on a novel about 19th century Cherokees. Welcome, Alan.
This is a part of my story which is being published, and in this I'm starting about halfway through. The narrator has spotted a kudzu-draped cabin that spurs a buried memory. He is drawn to investigate and recalls some repressed details. Greta and I had set out after Ma had taken our battered, clay-stained Ford on another trip to Landrum to care for some sickly aunt we never met. Her sudden departures often came during the night after we had heard loud voices and breaking glass downstairs. On our mattress in the attic, Greta dropped her arm around me and tried to cover my ears. The next morning, bright and crispy cool for August, Dew sparkled in the weeds, giving off scores of little rainbows. Pa spat tobacco juice through swollen lips and cursed our laziness before clattering away in his logging truck. After washing our oatmeal bowls, my sister told me we were going to look for a magic place she'd heard about, a haven, she called it, where we might stay for a while. So we stuffed extra clothes and some leftover biscuits into a poke and set out into the woods. It's odd that I can now recollect those details, but when at night I try to recall more about that outing, a heavy, suffocating presence envelops me. I must struggle from beneath the bed covers and bolt to an open window for fresh air. Nevertheless, chance impressions sometimes yield firm memories. When the little cabin marooned in that sea of kudzu drew my attention, like iron filings to a magnet, I also caught a whiff of perfumed women in nice clothes driving me away in a fancy car, after which I never saw Ma or Pa again. I heard the soft snores of other boys sleeping all in one room. I saw the bright red tulips in front of a brick home with two people who shortened my name to Hank and asked me to call them Mom and Dad. Nobody tried to make me talk about my adventure with Greta after that, but the shrouded cabin beckoned me, promising more answers.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you very much. I'm glad you made it at 7. That was perfect timing. I'm sorry.
It was, almost got left out.
No, I'm glad you're here. That's a really, really interesting story. So thank you. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Next is Art Turfa. Hey, Art, how are you?
I'm fine, Vivian.
Good. Arthur has called the Midlands his home since 2004. He's written 4 books of his poetry, which have been published. Most recently, Saluda Reflections by Finishing Line Press. Art has been published in U.S. and international print and online publications, including the Pettigrew Review, South Carolina English Teacher, and the Penguin Review, in the top 20 of its 2019 poetry prizes. Currently, he is editing a manuscript for his first novel, and Art's going to read a poem entitled A Glimpse of Glories. Correct, Art? Do I have that right?
That's right, A Glimpse of Glories. Honored to be here and in such august company. This is one of my more mystical poems, A Glimpse of Glories. On the threshold of a region with glowing, uncreated light, I linger in morning coolness, whispering other names, rarely my own. Around me are so many, they surround me on the rim. Family, mentors, friends, comforted by their presence. Even when no light shines, when I no longer see them, I sense still the connection that we enjoyed in the light. Somehow, I remain linked to them until time fades away and the moment in this light-filled region is all that there is and all there needs to be.
Thank you, Art. Thank you. That's a really, really poignant these days. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you PM me or DM me, I'll tell you what occasion it. I have another one, short one.
You have 55 seconds. Go for it.
Okay, this is 2 Miriams. This was in the Pettigrew Review. At the joyful reception in the metropolis, a hall of light and splendor, 2 persons spoke, separated by generation and historical divide. Still, the conversation flowed friendly and lively between them both. Coincidence? A common name called out across the decades. Her name, the same as that of his sister who died in the Holocaust. Freely flowed her tears like a cloudburst, his tears shed long ago.
Thank you, Art. Thank you so much. Really beautiful. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Hey, Art,
Oh,
if any poets have questions, about Finishing Line Press or some of the better small presses for poets, can they contact you? Because I know Finishing Line Press is like is a pretty good one for poets.
It is. They ask you to do a lot of things up front, but they come through. You do what they say, and that'd be wonderful. I've had good times and bad times with publishing, but Finishing Line is really great. And every tweet I list them on, they retweet.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're really very supportive, and they will schedule events, even if they're going to be canceled later on, as it turned out. It's a really great group.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Amber. Thank you. Doris, right. Doris, yeah, not last but not least, certainly. Doris is a writer of short stories, poetry, and novels, one complete and one in progress. She was awarded second place in Short Story America 2018 and runner-up in WOW Women on Writing as well, Flash Fiction Contest. She has a BS in English, participated in the New York State Summer Writers Institute and Colgate University's novel, short story, and poetry workshops. She's been a newspaper reporter and teacher, and tonight she's going to read some nonfiction, her work entitled Mobile Summer.
Because it was too long for the 2 minutes, I took different sections of it and mushed them together. So this is from Mobile Summer. It was summer in the deep South and impossibly hot. We sat around, cooled by a window unit air conditioner, doing nothing but watching TV. My family had returned from living in France for the last 3 years with no access to television, so we had a lot of catching up to do. My sister and I had no friends, no hobbies, and no chores. Our mother apparently knew the only way to survive was to sit still, doing as much nothing as possible. We three were partners in crime, joined in a transitional capsule as we waited for our new lives to begin. I had lived in the South before, in Texas, hot but dry, but this was the deep South. The steamy nights were black and noisy with crickets and frogs. Mildew, new to me, a byproduct of the extreme humidity, attacked anything that sat out for more than an hour. It feasted and reproduced on paper stored unwisely in the shed, coating everything a velvety gray-green, like the thick fuzz you get on your tongue when your stomach's upset. It permeated the fabric ceiling of our car and gummed up the steering wheel, and my hair frizzed, turned into a brown cotton ball, a challenge I continue to face. The beach those first summers in Mobile. I had been to many beaches in my short gypsy life, but I'd never seen anything like this. Huge sand dunes. Climbing the dunes was no mean feat. I never outgrew my love for the ocean, the rhythm, the smell, the gentle breeze, the beautiful deep blue sky and billowing clouds, the punitive sun, the salty taste of my skin, and that each one is unique, exhilarating waves. Strangely, this love of mine managed to coexist with my fear at the thought of sharks, jellyfish, crabs, undercurrents, tsunami-like waves that smacked me, stung me, grabbed me, and forcefully tumbled my body over and under with no control, hoping for it to pass. What an analogy of life, exhilarating and terrifying. Thank you.
Yay, thank you, Doris. I think you picked some good stuff to mush together. Okay, so last is me. So I was really thrilled to get Fighter Town published in Catfish Stew. I'm a poet and nonfiction writer. I have an MFA from Queens in Charlotte. I write a column called Whatever down here in Beaufort. And just really glad to be here. And thanks for letting me MC all of your great work tonight. I hope I honored you. It was an honor to be your MC. So this is called Fighter Town. Jets scream over my home. The noise you hear is the sound of freedom. I remember women and children running through rice paddies across our television screen in the family room, my dad snoring on the couch. In the kitchen, my mother rinses dishes smeared in chicken grease and mashed potatoes, loads the dishwasher, pots clang, flatware clinks, glass scrapes glass. I am on the floor stroking the Weimaraner's belly, Vietnamese or mute as Walter Cronkite recites another death count, ours, not theirs. I am 9 or 10. I attend Catholic school. My math book is protected by a grocery store brown bag book cover and doodles of magic marker peace signs. It's cool to be against the war. Another jet cracks open the air. Can I believe in dropping bombs to kill men and women, killing men and women over politics or religion, power or money? A jet morphs from loud pterodactyl to a thin black dash, a real live punctuation mark for a skywriting language I do not want to learn. Curving over the river back to land, jets return to home base, and for a small minute, I wonder if I'm fast enough to run from cul-de-sac to woods if a payload drops. I am 61. Someday, will I see a flag on jets flying over me? Will I seek cover because of who I am, where I live? Am I too old to run? Who were our allies then? Who are our friends now? If there is any leadership at all, when will I decide not to follow? Where is God, and how do I get on his side? Under burning fuel, standing still, looking up, I watch chalk white jet exhaust transform into a plume of water vapor, soot, and oxides. Just then, a wood stork lifts from a pine, black and white feathers, a soft rustle. I don't know where God's hands are.
I like it.
That's it. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, so Mary Sturgill's going to take us out this evening.
Wait, can
Not
I?
totally.
Hold on.
Not after the jets, Mary. Yeah.
Wait, can I show the pedigree review really quick to encourage people to submit?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that, but go ahead and show it.
Okay, you talk, and
I'll talk. You show. This
Okay,
is
but
show
I
and
do want to. So we have the most incredible. I'm so excited about this cover art. We have the most incredible cover art for. So this is the God. I don't know if you can see it. So this is the going to be the cover of the pedigree review. And this artist who is actually the an editor at Shenandoah right now submitted a series of artwork that all has this style, and I'm just really excited about it. So I love we want all of you guys to submit to the pedigree review too. So Mary, you talk, and as you talk, I'm going to share my screen and show you how easy it is to
Sure.
submit. Okay, and now I'm muting myself.
So we're taking submissions until the end of July. So you have just a little over 2 months to get everything finalized and get them in. And Amber's going to show you right there how to do that. Super easy.
Pedigree review.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go to about here, and then I go to submission guidelines. And I'm just going to click.
Ta-da.
And this is what we are accepting.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So you have until July 31st to submit to the pedigree review. Also, many of you probably already, I wanted to start, let me back up. I wanted to start by thanking all of the writers, both who are published in Catfish and the ones who just joined us to listen tonight. It is events like this that keep the South Carolina Humanities and the South Carolina Arts Commission supporting our group. And so it's so important, one, that we have them, but two, that you guys continue to support them. And so I want to extend our gratitude to you for that, because both of those entities have been super supportive of us, and they continue to be, even during this COVID-19 pandemic that we're in, and even through the canceling, of the conference and things like that. I did want to talk to you briefly about some of the things that we have in the works right now for everyone, so that you can help us spread the word to everyone. You should have received a survey this week that is more of a personal survey. We're trying to get a better hold of the demographics of the organization so that we can better serve you, but with that knowledge. And so if you'll fill that out and complete that, it only takes I think mine took less than 2 minutes. So fill that out. Please encourage people in your critique groups to do the same. Then the other things that we're working on, obviously we're working on getting the conference up for April 2021. So we're organizing that right now. Hopefully COVID will not last that long and we'll be able to have it. But the other thing that I'm really excited about is that we're creating these online workshops and kind of tutorial sessions for people. And so you will be able to soon get more information and register for those as well. And so if you have any ideas about topics that you would like to hear, make sure you email us, let one of the board members know. Casey's in charge of education, or Josie, or let Amber, myself, or Mike know. And we'll try to find somebody who could teach that. And then the other thing that we're excited about is Amber and I are working on getting we're on the committee, and Betty, to redo the website so that there's this members only section. So I'm really excited. I think you guys are gonna love that once we roll that out. That's a couple months away. But we are really excited about all the things that we have going on, despite the fact that we all can't be together because of COVID-19. I know many of you are meeting with your critique groups via Zoom, and I am as well for the Greenville 2 chapter. So everybody's invited. You'll see me post for that. And again, just thank everybody for being here tonight. You guys, authors, you were great. Loved the stuff. Mike, is there anything else I should add to that?
No, I think you covered it very well. I'm just delighted to have been part of this. I really enjoy these sessions and being in touch and listening to everybody. And congratulations to those who were selected for Catfish Stew. And let's go TPR. It's an exciting time. Thank you.
Thank you.
And
so
make
much,
sure if you
guys.
don't have your copy and you didn't win one tonight, that you go to Amazon and get your copy.
Yeah, this is officially the first year since I've been on the board, 4 years, that that Catfish Stew is actually making some money. So that's really exciting. And we're going to put it back into publications and put it back into education. So, and events that we offer. So we're excited about that. Not a ton of money, but actually, showing a little bit of profit. So we're excited. And hopefully we'll continue to do so. So good job. That's because of your work that's in the anthology. So thank you so much. It's been really fun to work with everybody. I'm sorry I've sent so many emails. I promise you won't hear from me for a while. Anyway, I think that's about it for me. So
I can add that the copies of Catfish Stew were mailed today. I physically took them to the post office and everything, so they're on their way. And I wanted to thank everybody for organizing this, and especially Vivian for a wonderful job. So thank you very much.
Okay. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Vivian.